Hello and welcome to another edition of UFO Video News Now. Let me give you a quick preview of what I got coming up in this video. The first are some more quote-unquote drones from New Jersey. Also have this clip from Cornwall in the UK. So this is definitely a worldwide phenomenon, not just a US thing. And then here is a close-up. This woman actually gets a close-up of one of these orbs. And then she believes, she talks to us, says something about Jesus, and it looks like it reacts. I don't know. I think it's just a coincidence. And then here is this image, which they said was just released, but I'm pretty positive I've seen this image at least for 20 years. But this is, again, supposedly from the Chang'e-2 moon orbiter, the rover that's supposedly cruising around the dark side of the moon, and you can clearly see there's some type of structure here on the moon. And then this is a clip from 3 years ago of China's moon rover, and it, captured some type of, odd cube-shaped object. Definitely looks like a structure. This is not anything natural. And then this is one of those clips that it's been out for a while. It's 17 years. It's been out 17 years. Got 3.2 million views. I have no idea whether this is real or not, but it's supposed to be Neil Armstrong filming some type of ancient structure on the moon. It's very, very grainy, black and white. It looks like it's oversaturated, overexposed. It's very, very hard to make out, but after a while, your brain will adjust and start to make out certain structures. And then this is a strange one here. It's 11 minutes, almost 12 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but it's about these implants that are being pulled out of special forces, soldiers, and private citizens. Now, if you recall, there was a doctor several years ago in California who was pulling these objects out of people, and his name is on the tip of my lip. I'll think about it in a second. But anyways, yeah, so this is, people were saying back then when he was talking about pulling these things out of people that he was crazy and that they were just like shards of glass. But according to this more recent research, these things, Dr. Roger Leir, he was a foot doctor in California, Culver City, I think it was, or someplace, San Fernando Valley, Culver City, I don't know. Anyways, he claims that when he tried to pull these objects out of one of his patients, that it actually moved on him and was trying to avoid being extracted. But I think these may be based on what Dr. Leir found. I think these are actually, some type of military design. Because to me, it's not odd that, special forces soldiers would have something like this. Because, why wouldn't the government want to track them? Anyways, and then last is this. This is another long clip. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But according to this guy here, Courtney Brown, he claims to be in contact with, he calls them extraterrestrial races. I don't know why he says that. I'm sure he's aware that they're from the planet. But when he was asked where they're from, he didn't really answer. He avoided the question. He was very dodgy with his answer. And I just think that maybe I don't know, maybe he doesn't feel we're ready for that now. But again, it's interesting that he did dodge the question or avoid it. He didn't really give a specific answer. But, of course, I'm a firm believer that our species is being controlled, that we're not the only civilization on the planet, but that we're actually being controlled by another. And you know what? While I go through this, I'm sure I've showed it in some of my other videos before, but I'm gonna find the TikTok clip that shows, what these reptilian beings actually look like. But anyways, if you appreciate the time and effort that I put into bringing this information to you, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And more importantly, please subscribe. Anyways, let's get to this first one here. Like I said, this is from New Jersey, more drones. And the person thinks it's a helicopter or something.
All right, the one right there is obvious. It's either a drone or a plane that's flying above them. But those 4 dots right there, it's flying over. Those things have not moved.
crazy.
Holy cow.
Bro, James, I've seen like 7 different KWs.
All right, the one right there is obvious. It's either a drone or a plane that's flying above them. But those 4 dots right there, it's flying over. Those things have not moved.
This is crazy.
Wow, do you notice how there's all these other little,
Holy
these little
cow.
sparklers that occasionally burst around?
Bro, James,
Like this, actually, this one here is probably going to grow into
All right, the one right there
a bigger light.
is obvious.
But
It's either a drone or a plane that's flying above them. But those 4 dots right there, it's flying over. Those things have not moved.
yeah, around here you're going to see little tiny flashes.
Holy
Anyways, that's that.
cow.
Let's go to this video here. This is another quick one. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to put the music down, but let me just read. More people have reported seeing unusual objects in the night sky in Cornwall as UFO sightings increase. Maybe I should read with the English accent. The mysterious objects were spotted over the past couple of weeks in St. Clair near Lilskid in Portawan. One dog walker told Cornwall Live that they spotted an inexplicable light in the sky in Portawan at around 7:18 p.m. Monday on December 9th. They said it hovered for about 10 minutes before it slowly moved south down the coast. Video footage they recorded shows them approaching the Royal Air Force Base along the path before they zoom into a light hovering in the distance. A blue or white object was also spotted hovering around the full moon by photographer Chris Piper. I was photographing a lunar halo, and it wasn't until I showed the pictures to my friend that he noticed the blue dot hovering around the moon. When I looked back at the motion picture, it appeared to be moving. Cornwall Live reported that a stargazer spotted a mysterious phenomenon in Newquay at about 6:03 p.m. also on Monday, December 9th. Intrigued, Monique Lai grabbed her phone and started filming what looked like something out of a science fiction movie from the balcony. When I first saw the object, I was completely taken aback. I often stargaze, so I'm familiar with the night sky. I knew immediately that this wasn't a star or anything usual. It was bright, changing colors, and it seemed unusually close to town. Earlier this summer, Charlotte Hellier and Dom Sinet reported seeing a really strange series of lights hovering over the hills near her family home. Charlotte said they witnessed the mysterious lights at around 10:30 p.m. on June 18th. They floated left and right before seeming to reduce into just 2 balls of white light that floated away miles into the distance. They were too bright to be drones, and the way they floated off into the distance means any drone controller would have been out of reach. And that makes a lot of sense. They were also completely silent and did not move like anything I recognized. Anyways, that's that. Yep, this is a worldwide phenomenon, not just the U.S. Things is happening in UK, South America, the U.S. It's everywhere, man. This is a worldwide disclosure event. Anyways, so now this woman claims to get a reaction when she mentions Jesus.
If I can do this today.
Now again,
In between those 2 trees.
look how far away she is from this thing, right? And thank God she's using a tripod. Like, see, now this I think is one of those plasmoids, some type of organic creature or biological
See if I can zoom in more.
biological entity that exists
My
in
fingers don't work.
low Earth orbit. Okay, now she's going to start saying some stuff.
Sorry, guys. Here we go. Let's see if we can zoom
Look at that thing.
That's kind of cool.
Now, I believe I got... Oops. I said,
Can you talk to me? Can you hear me? Jesus loves me.
Holy shit, look
you
at
know
that.
Jesus. You know Jesus. Jesus is awesome, isn't he?
Man, am I going to have to convert to Christianity? What's up with
Yes,
this?
he is.
This has got to be just a coincidence.
God is good.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
God is good.
Again, you know, and these movements don't look
God is
organic
good.
to me. You know, I believe I found this on Project Camelot, Carrie Cassidy's website. And she believes that this is a cloaked triangular craft. She says she could see it in there. I don't think that that's what that is, but who knows? Anyways, that's that. Let's go to this one here. And yeah, this is just a photo, again, taken from the Chang'e-2, but you know, I'm positive I've seen this before. I was sent some pictures by a source who claims China will be releasing high-res images taken by the Chang'e-2 moon orbiter, which clearly show buildings and structures on the moon's surface. He also claims NASA has deliberately bombed important areas of the moon in an effort to destroy ancient artifacts and facilities. Pictures yet to be released clearly show nuclear impact craters and building debris caused by explosions in an effort by NASA to destroy the truth. China is moving towards full disclosure of the extraterrestrial reality. If these images and future ones are verified genuine, then NASA should be investigated for fraud and treason. China will be releasing all the data and images from the Chang'e-2 in the coming weeks and months. Let's hope this is the beginning of a new era. Yeah, again, at this point, I mean, if you know, you'd have to seriously be living in a cave to not know that NASA's full of shit. And I've said this before, right? It's pretty obvious by this point that we have a government that's incapable of telling the truth. Okay, they only know a narrative. Right? Everything to them is a narrative. It's never about keeping us informed. Anyways, this is this is from 3 years ago. China's Yutu-2 rover has transmitted back to Earth an image of an odd cube-shaped object on the far side of the moon. Images captured in November 2021. Now, you know, I've said this before. I've mentioned, what's his name? Bruce Cesal, a YouTube channel, Bruce Cesal, right? That guy's got this big giant, I think he's got like a 12-inch or 16-inch telescope or something like that. I don't remember. It's a huge, you know, it's a pretty large backyard telescope, but it's close enough that he can zoom in and see a whole bunch of activity happening on the moon all the time. There are crafts flying around the moon, entering or approaching and leaving the moon. There are areas where you can clearly make out geometric shapes and structures, smoke, steam, all kinds of activity happening on our moon. And it's because we're not just alone. We're not alone. We're not only not alone in the universe, we're not alone on this planet. We've never been alone. Okay, now this one here, again, I make no claims as to its validity. I really don't know the context. I don't know if it's true, but it came out 17 years ago. It's got 3.2 million views. It says normally it lasts 14 minutes. What you see is the reason behind all this rush to land on the moon before USSR. It was bombed a few years later by those who decided for us. Now, yeah, it's hard to make out, but there are, you know, your brain, if you just watch it, your brain will adjust and be able to start making out certain structures. And you know what? I'm going to try and narrate too. Again, I'm not 100% sure of what I'm looking at, but I'm going to just, you know, I'm going to narrate what I believe I see. And if I'm wrong, you know, you can correct me in the comments. Now, I believe this is, yeah, if it is Neil Armstrong, I think this is him approaching a structure and then going into the interior. Now this looks like they are inside the structure, and I don't know if that's like furniture. I believe that there is some type of a supporting beam. There looks like another astronaut crosses in front of them. Okay, now I think they are entering into another room here, and you'll see in the background what looks to be windows or some type of openings that look, or that give you a view of the outside. Okay, about that black right in front, I think that is another support beam. Again, in the back you can see what looks like windows. I believe there's a ceiling, or no, I don't know if that's a ceiling, if that's an open ceiling. Looks like he's entering into another doorway. I believe that's another type of supporting beam. Yeah, this here is really hard to make out. I'm not too sure what's happening here. Oh, it looks like he walked out of something. Now I believe this is from the outside looking back at the structure. And I believe there in the background, that's another astronaut again. And like I said, you know, this is definitely like oversaturated or overexposed. Another shot of what looks like some type of hallway or a walkway. Or maybe it's just a covered pathway. Now again, this looks like they are looking out the window, and is that the lander? Or is that another structure? And this looks like an astronaut is using some type of tool to rake the ground. I mean, look at that back thing. Does that look natural? Does that look real to you? Anyways, let's see. Let me go to the last video. Oh, no, this isn't the last. Okay, so now this, okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing, just part of it. But again, this is someone who believes that these are some type of tracking devices that they found implanted in special ops soldiers and in some politicians. And again, to me, this isn't that unusual. I mean, I believe this is, you know, alien tech that was first discovered by Dr. Roger Lear. But I believe this is, yeah, some type of military device that's, you know, being put in our soldiers so that they can track them.
This is the first specimen. This is actually a nanowire. Our bodies don't reject these biosensors. And so our tissues will engulf them. So there is no rejection of these. And they come in various shapes and sizes. This was a politician in Southern California in the early 40s, 50s, up into the early 90s. They used to be the size of a grain of rice. Now they were able to trace through the digital serial number of this microchip. And this microchip went back to an NSA database. It's a special forces soldier who was having some auditory symptoms. There was a frequency that was detected we had not detected in the last 20 years that we've been doing this. When we traced this signal, we expected it to be a frequency that was owned by the United States, and it wasn't. It was actually owned by NATO. And so we're like, well, what the heck? Why would NATO have the license rights on this frequency, particularly coming from a U.S. Special Ops soldier?
You know what? I just realized that that's about as much as I want to play of that. But let me give you the title if you want to check it out. Again, this is from Jay Anderson's X account and it's at the Project Unity. Shocking, what are these implants being pulled out of special forces and private citizens? Again, to me, this isn't that unusual. You know, why wouldn't our government want to keep track of certain politicians and, you know, special ops soldiers? Because, you know, special ops soldiers, that's government property. Those guys are government property. You know, they signed their name, on that line, and it probably gave the government the right to do that. So to me, I don't think it's unusual. And like I said, I believe this is based on technology that was first discovered by Dr. Roger Lear and probably adopted by our military for their use. Anyways, let's go to this last one. Now, this last one, I know I found this guy on Carrie Cassidy's Project Camelot website. And, you know, he's a remote viewer. Now, I personally do not think remote viewing works or is valid, but I also know that our government, as well as the Russian government or the Russian military, did extensive research on remote viewing, and the research, from my understanding, lasted several decades, 3 or 4 decades. You know, which, I mean, logically, I would have to conclude that the reason why they conducted the research for so long is because it must have worked. But again, I have yet to come across any credible evidence that would confirm, you know, one way or the other. So I do not know. Like I said, although I do not believe it, doesn't mean that it doesn't work, right? I'm a person that can, you know, I'm open-minded, right? I can hold 2 conflicting, contradictory views at the same time, okay? Because I don't know. I don't believe it works, but the government has been doing a lot of research on it, which would indicate that it does work. So I'm open. But regardless, this guy claims to be in contact with the group that is engineering these, you know, again, what our government is calling drones. I believe they're calling drones as a way to lessen the impact. They don't want to say UFO, right? Because then they would have to acknowledge a whole bunch of other things. But the fact that our military is not shooting them down, you know, they're just trying to tell people to chill out, let it go, that they're not here to harm us. They know this is up. But regardless, this guy claims to know. And, you know, I'm going to have to go with Carrie Cassidy. I think that if she puts this guy, if she believes him, you know, why shouldn't I? But anyways, check out what he has to say here.
Clearly, the UAPs or UFOs are swarming all over the planet. It's become big news. Still, it's been going on for a month now. The U.S. government is not saying at all what it is. They know exactly what it is, and that's why they're not saying what it is. Because if they said what it is, well, I'll tell you in a minute what would happen, okay? I have my notes here on what I have to make sure I cover today, so that's it. So clearly there are 2 types of, well, they're calling them drones, but they're not drones. there are two types of objects that are out there. Some of them are UAP ships, or actually ET ships, and some of them are actually human drones. So there's sort of a mixture out there. There's a reason why some of the human drones are out there as well, but the big ones are clearly, the major ones are clearly the UAP ones, the extraterrestrial ones. Now here's a major element that sort of tells what's going on. For all of the ships that are being sighted out there, the FAA requires that all ships of that size, other than the small little rinky-dink, real small DJI drones, anything of any significant size at all, like better than just like basketball size and above, they have to have a transponder. That's by law. They have to have a transponder. And none of them have transponders. There's no transponders, so that's illegal, okay? Secondly, they have no heat signatures. Like on the level of physics, what? There's no heat signatures. I mean, they have to have heat, so there's no heat signatures. And the third thing is, they are flying over restricted airspace. Now, that's illegal. They're flying over all types of restricted airspace. Political restricted airspace, they're flying over military bases at will. There's nothing stopping them. All that's illegal. And there have been attempts that have been tossed. This has been told to Ross Coulthard on News Nation, that he's actually connected with the people who are on the bases, and they say that the anti-drone technology that they use, which is the best, it's on the major super secret military bases in the continental United States, says it has no effect on these objects. I don't want to call them drones because the ETs don't want to call them drones, but it has no effect. So they know that they can't take them down with the normal drone technology. And the U.S. government also knows they don't want to shoot them down because they know what they are. They know that the ET UAPs or UFOs, they know exactly what they are, and they don't want to get into a shooting war, an open shooting war with extraterrestrial spacecraft. That's the bottom line here. You'd see the U.S. trying to shoot them down, and you'd see the weapons having no effect, just like bouncing off, just falling to the ground, and then everybody would know. That's why they don't want to shoot them down, because it'd be so obvious that they're not human-made. Okay. So anyway, Ross Coulthard is he's probably still the best source of accurate information about the state of the art right now in terms of these UAPs. You're not getting anything from the other sources other than the normal traditional garbage that you're getting. But anyway, so far he's the best out there. All right. The United States government is sitting on a powder keg. This is why they're so nervous about it. That's why they're also trying to make it into, well, it's sort of a old news now, get it off the front pages. They're sitting on an absolute powder keg. They know exactly what's going on, and they know it's impossible for them not to know what's going on. Look, I know these Defense Department people, they take everything extremely seriously. It's not possible that they don't know what's going on. But the official storyline is we don't know what's going on. They don't see, but then they're saying, but they're not hostile. There's no threat. Well, if they know they're not hostile and there's no threat, how can they know that if they don't know what's going on? So clearly they know what's going on. All right. So the trouble is they're sitting on a big powder keg. Let me make sure I get this exactly right, because this particular part I want to make sure is exactly right. If any official news, any type of official news, comes out about the ET phenomenon, because that's what they'd have to say if they told you what was really going on, they're worried that then the full story would come out. And the government is hiding tons of very terrible stuff. That's what they're afraid of. It would collapse the whole house of cards. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they're not talking. They're stonewalling because they don't know what to say, and they see this is a real big problem. Now, the extraterrestrials are forcing this, and the government knows. Now, look, last month in November, on the 13th, we had our board meeting. On the 15th, we had the publication of that board meeting. And that meant we video recorded it and we published it. And the drone thing started in Sirius on the 18th. Oh, there were some before and some, but on the 18th is when it started to get way out of control. Okay, so we had a meeting. They told us what was going to happen. They told us that the objects were going to be all over the place, and they told us that they wanted you to go out and take video recordings of them. They're not going to use any stealth tech. Any cameras will do. You don't have to use infrared. You don't have to use high frame rates. Just go outside, take pictures. And sure enough, it happened right on the dot. So that was very persuasive for many, but someone could still say, that was coincidence. With all the people saying the ET ships are going to show up, you happen to have said it right before they showed up. Eventually somebody was going to say it right before they showed up. So the problem is we have to make a connection between what the ETs are doing and us. Otherwise, why should you believe us? Why, if you look for internet stuff on Google or on YouTube, or on Instagram about the UFO stuff, there's 10,000 people out there saying, I know what's going on, I have a new theory. You have this cacophony of voices all saying that they know what's going on, they have the real stuff, that follow, and they get like hundreds of thousands of views and things like that. So how are we supposed to be an official source of getting information that's true about what the extraterrestrials, with all of this coming at you from all these different people?
Again, he keeps saying extraterrestrials when I'm pretty positive they're not coming from outside. And, he also mentions that he's in regular contact with some of these, again, what he calls extraterrestrials, and that they show up at his meetings. They're dressed in regular clothes, and some people can see them and some people can't see them. And again, the fact that, they show up routinely as scheduled, I don't believe they're coming from far distance. But anyways, I don't want to play any more of this. But ultimately, he says that in 2025, beginning of 2025, just like Ross Coulthart said, there will be bigger ships appearing in the sky. And, the reason why the small drones came out is because, they don't want to just, make it or have people freak out if all of a sudden these gigantic ships start appearing in the sky. So first, they want to do the drones, get people sort of used to the drones as it's something normal. Then the bigger ships, and he also said that they have much bigger ships than that. That the ones that they're going to show, they're going to be big to us, but they're really actually not as big as the other ships that that these civilizations have in their fleet. But definitely check this guy out, Farsight Spotlight. Oh, another reason why I believe that what he's saying, there has to be some truth to what he's saying, is because he is being suppressed. He mentions that if you try and do any type of search for remote viewing, that since he's these guys, or he feels like he's the largest organization that's involved in this, in remote viewing, that his site should come up on a YouTube search, but it doesn't. So again, and I'm also aware that the powers that be, they don't suppress nonsense. They only suppress the truth. So the fact that this guy is being suppressed probably means there's some truth to what he's saying. But anyways, what? I want to thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. If you appreciate the time and effort that I put into bringing this information to you, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And more importantly, please subscribe. Until next time, take care.